Off the cuff, we're going to talk about FEAR. FEAR is an acronym people like to use for fake evidence appearing real. Well, you know, it's funny because in certain matters, you know, it's true because there's evidence on both parts. You know what I'm saying? And when you have fear, you place yourself restricted in so many ways in life. You know, because you don't really know the outcome. It's based on assumptions, you know, and then often people are wrong, you know, and it's what they've been taught, it's what they've been learned, and what they grow up as, you know, and how they grow up. And, you know, if I had fear, I wouldn't be drawn like this, because I'm really, you know, I get stuff for doing art, you know, and it's carried me through my life, but I can't be afraid to draw a bad picture or anything. You know, like I don't like this one. Sometimes you could just start over, you know. Life is like that. You can start over in a way of goodness. You know, sometimes you have to do things more than once to get them right. And that's how it works too, you know. And, you know, if people weren't afraid, then we would have been able to talk about things like, you know, what's going on and how things are and why they're like the way they are. You know, and then people wouldn't be so, you know, upset over things and aggressive and defensive, you know, because they would realize that, you know, maybe there is a better solution or resolution if people could communicate. But when people have fears, they don't communicate even, you know, and there's plenty of different things, you know, where fear shows its ugly face, and it ruins stuff for everybody, you know. And when you have fear within your brain, when you have fear within your heart, when you have fear within your life, you know, you're basically, you know, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the rest of the world and life, you know, and that's sad because it creates holes in things, and, you know, it creates binds, and then you can't live, and whatever you're afraid to lose or afraid will happen is only going to become worse. You know, because like that's what we have now, and people like when I was going through my trials and tribulations, which were based on everybody's fears, I was told so many things, but you know, I kept going, and in the end, you know, even though I won a lot of things, they were like, "Oh, you got lucky" and stuff, you know. And then they're not only were they afraid. First, they were like, "Oh, the cops are going to kill you. They're going to cut you up and feed you to the gators and stuff like that," you know. So, and then when I won. You know, and I won my freedom, they're like, "Oh, well, you got lucky." Okay, you're afraid to admit it because you weren't big enough to try, you know, and in the end, you know, it just continues to show itself, you know, and the world is not perfect. Nobody is really perfect, you know, but if we don't have fear, we could make a perfect world, and we could have a perfect relation of all the things. You know, and then you could find the key to your life and unlock stuff for the rest of us just to go on. And, you know, you'd be surprised if you don't have fear what you can accomplish. And, you know, like I said, whatever people think that they were going to lose by not standing up to the cops, you know, when they know that the cops screwed them over, or when the government was wrong, you know, they were afraid to take the time because they were afraid to lose their job. Well, you go to your employer and say, you know what, I'm fighting something that has to do with everybody, and it wasn't right. And, you know, the employer might say, okay, well, you know, I'll be easy on you if you come in late or you're stressed out. And people work like that because not everybody is afraid. And some people like to do the right thing, too. And they can't afford the opportunity to do the right thing. So, you know, we have no growth if people are afraid. And the fact that we have no growth has left us stagnant, and then has left us susceptible to the world in so many ways, where people are coming in and they're taking charge, and they're doing things that doesn't agree with everybody, and it actually hurts people and everything. And in the end, it's just really sad because, you know, this is all your fault, really. I'm to blame too, because, you know, I should have did things in my own respect to make things better in a lot of ways, and so should all of you have. But now that we're confronted with the situation, you know, what are we going to do about it? You know, and it's like you're at home and you're learning stuff on the internet because you're forced to, like I was, and then you're discovering, wait a second, this isn't right, and there is a way to fight it. You know, and in the end, you know, now it's like, okay, is it too late? Oh my God. So now that's another fear. Oh, it's too late. You know, oh, if I stand up, nobody else will stand up with me. Well, now you're forced to stand up. And like people like me, I'm like, you know what? I was never afraid to be myself, even though I didn't get a lot of things out of society and life, you know, because that's the way it is. That's the way people are, you know, and it's like, okay, I wasn't afraid and I was always myself. And like I said, you know, now it's like, okay, it was worth it because I get to see and feel things that everybody else is feeling and seeing now, and it's like, you know, it's actually doing me really good. And, you know, I'm still surviving because I was forced to find a way to survive because, you know, I wasn't afraid to be myself. And now you can't even be yourself, you know, and you've coupled yourself with things that, you know, everybody else is doing, like that was acceptable in society, you know, and you certainly weren't afraid to say, okay, individuals and people that are obscure like me, you know, you know, whatever, you know, but now look where it's at now. You know, you got nothing in a sense, you know, but you have your free will. So what are you going to do with that free will? You know, I mean, I could tell you how to do it. You know, one time I says, okay, 1,000 mothers should go up in front of 1,000 jails and demand the release of their fathers and sons and daughters and sisters that are in there for nonviolent crimes like weed and stuff like that, right? And then, you know, 1,000 weed smokers should go in front of 1,000 police stations at the same time and say, with all their bags of weed, and say, okay, we want this legal because people are smoking cigarettes and they're taking breaks from work, you know, and then all of a sudden, you know, they're drinking, you know, and cops are drinking too, you know, and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, okay, you know, and they got prescription pills and these people are high, but, oh, you're smoking weed, so we're all going to be